Okay.
You tell us when, Cassie.
All right, whenever you're ready, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay, got it running?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hello, I'm Dr. Robert Sprackland, and I am a herpetologist and have been my whole life. I have a bachelor's degree, master's degree, and PhD in the area of zoology and evolutionary zoology, and I have a master's degree in science education and teaching because I'm interested in being able to convey as well as to study the animals.
Now, what exactly is herpetology? Kind of take me through that.
Certainly. Herpetology is the study of the biology, the lives of reptiles and amphibians. And it covers everything from their structure, their function, where they live, how they live, what they eat, what they're related to, how they're related to each other. Anything to do with the lives of reptiles and amphibians, snakes, lizards, turtles, crocodiles, frogs, toads, salamanders, and caecilians.
What makes you an expert in herpetology? What makes you an expert in being able to talk for hours about lizards and insects and dinosaurs?
Well, as a zoologist with general zoological training, I have been working with these animals my entire life. In addition to reptiles, I've done a lot of work with octopuses and insects and fishes. But it's the experience. I have trained myself. I have not only taken the formal education, but I've worked for many years in museums, and I've done many years of field work in places like the bush of Australia and in Pacific Islands and on the island of Papua New Guinea. And I've got the kind of experience that comes from both the museum and the classroom and being out in the bush with the animals.
Why are you so passionate about this? Like, what is it about reptiles that has made you create your whole life around studying them and teaching them?
How can you not be passionate about reptiles is my question. I don't imagine I could not. Here you have a group of animals. There are more species of lizards, for example, than mammals on the planet. And when you look at reptiles as a group, there's almost as many species of reptiles alive today as birds. And yet the diversity is incredible. The smallest lizard is a little bit bigger than my thumbnail, and the biggest one is larger than this table. There's a tremendous range in their size. There are snakes that live in the sea, snakes that spend their whole lives underground. There are snakes that climb trees and glide. There are snakes that are no bigger than a pencil, snakes that are 30 feet long. With lizards, you have lizards that glide. You have lizards that have tongues as long as their body. There are lizards that can run on the surface of the water. The way they look, their structure, their faces, their behavior, how can you not be passionate about them if you actually take the time to look at them? So why am I passionate? Why would I not be?
So tell me this, why do you want to take your knowledge about these animals and share? Like, why do you feel like people like me, for example, who I haven't studied anything in this field? Why do you feel like you want to come out and teach people that know nothing? What do you think we should know?
Well, reptiles and amphibians are, as we just said, they're fascinating animals, and we can learn a lot from them. With amphibians, for example, they're like the story now goes, they're the canaries in the mine. They are able to live in some incredible environments. Frogs that live in stagnant ponds, that live in cesspools, and yet most of the frogs in the world are dying off. What is it that's killing these animals that can live almost anywhere? And is that going to be able to affect us? It's something to be concerned with. When an animal can live in stagnant water and such, and they're dying from something else, that's something for us to be concerned with. The reptiles have so many habitats that they live in, and they adapt in so many different ways that if people become aware of them, they develop an appreciation not just for the animals, but a greater appreciation for nature. Whenever I take people out into the field and I show them, whether it's local kids and showing them the lizards that are coming out in the spring, or I take groups of adults on a trip through the zoo, they come away with an appreciation for what the reptiles do, the way that they hide, they feed, and just generally meld in with their environment that they can then extrapolate to everything else. If you understand reptiles, you will understand a lot of other things that might not seem important to you until you start to think about it. And just familiarity doesn't breed anything except acceptance and more fascination. And the other thing is they're just so incredible. Of course I want to share what I know with them. You're missing an awful lot if you haven't met them yet.
and tell me a little bit, brag a little bit. Have you've been a teacher, a professor, have you written any books? Kind of give me some career highlights.
Sure. Well, actually, two recent books. One I'm really proud of is The Guide to Lizards, came out a few years ago, and the second edition of Giant Lizards. And I have several other books that have come out. And one of the things that I'm doing now is taking the time to write up the other manuscripts that I haven't had time to write before. There's one I'm doing right now called Venom, what it is, how it works, and how we can use it. Very fascinated in not only what the reptiles do, but people also want to know what's in it for me. And with studying venoms, for example, we're coming up with so many new medications. We're coming up with chemicals that are 100 or 1,000 times more powerful as painkillers than morphine, but completely non-addictive. All right? We've got a chemical that's been taken from Gila monsters that is an extremely effective treatment for diabetes, something that they have not been able to come up with anyplace else. So in addition to their gestalt de facto fascinating attributes, there are so many other things about reptiles that what they are about, that if you're not interested in the animals themselves, there's still something in there that will be of interest to you.
All right, you are all done.
I am?
Yes, thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much. This was fun again.
Wonderful. Okay, so same thing. Upload the video.
I shall do that.
Just like you did last time.
Absolutely. I shall get it up there straight away.
How do you feel? Do you feel like that represented you well?
I think that did. I think that's pretty good.
I think you sounded amazing.
Wow. Well, thank you. I'm
I
very...
think that one was even better than the first one, so I'm actually really glad we did this again.
Yes. Well, you know, something about not being in excruciating pain. I felt like somebody had an ice pick and they just kept jabbing it into my hip. And
Oh my God.
that kind of can ruin your concentration a little bit.
It definitely will. Well,
But,
Was it worse than being attacked by the wild boar in the
never
jungle?
know.
yeah. But I think, you know, wherever this is going, I, you know, my whole life has been about being an ambassador for these animals. When I was a kid, and I talked to anybody about them, it was about, oh, it's a snake, we should kill it, or, you know, what good is this, or what good is that? And now we've got people who keep them as pets. We've got television shows about them. There's an entire amateur community that keeps and breeds them. None of this was there before, and I don't hear as many people talking in the phrase of, you know, ew, a snake, kill it. When you do now, there are other people around that look at that person like they're crazy, instead of being way back when where they all wanted to join the gang and grab their own hose and rakes to go out and kill the snake. So we've come a long way, and there's still a lot to do, and there's so much that we have yet to show that hasn't been on television, that's barely been in the books. And you know, any chance to help the animals, their reputation, educate people, share what is undoubtedly the most fascinating group of land animals, yeah, I'm all for it. So,
I love it.
what is it that you're actually working on? I mean, how did you find me, Cassie?
I found you. I actually didn't find you. We have a group of researchers that work for National Geographic, and they're kind of always looking for expert, you know, people that are kind of front runners in their field.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody found you, and they put you on my desk, and I went in and researched you myself and thought, you know, just what you're saying, we are looking to develop new shows. We're also looking for experts to bring into our existing shows to kind of, you know, give commentary or notes on, and or voiceovers to kind of, you know, have in our basically in our back pocket to go, oh, we're doing a show and we need somebody that can come in and describe this lizard. Like, let's call Robert. That's what we're looking for. And on top of that, like I said, we're also looking to develop new shows. And what that is basically, again, finding people that are educated and knowledgeable about different fields and topics, and going, there really isn't a good reptile show. Let's create one, and let's use you to have to create one around.
Yes, that is, boy, I hear that so often. That's, I think I told you that one of the things that I've been looking at is trying to figure out how to develop one, because you know, we on Facebook, you know, with all these people that I talk about, and the thing is, why don't we see somebody do? There's been a lot of discussion about how would we get one together, and I said, you know, I'm going to see if I can figure that out, and represent the animals in a serious but entertaining way. You know, it doesn't have to be like, I mean, Steve Irwin is a friend of mine, but his show caused an awful lot of people to, you know, kind of cringe some of the things that he did and the way he did it. And a good many of us think that we could do this sort of a show where it would be a lot less childish,
Right.
and yet still have all the fascination. I mean, look what David Attenborough does. Look at what Carl Sagan did. Look at what Neil deGrasse Tyson does. These people know how to communicate, and they never have to talk down to their audience, and yet they have always accumulated followers. I mean, even now, people are following Carl Sagan. The poor man's been dead for 15 years.
Yeah.
So, we're trying to, as a community, we're trying to figure out how we could get that kind of a show together. And
Well, and that's exactly what, National Geographic would be doing. Once they find the person to kind of help them, it would be really hand in hand developing a show together. And they obviously have the resources to put the show together.
Sure.
In terms of writers and producers, and they just need that key person to create it around.
Ready to help.
Yep, and I know lots and lots of people
really
ready to
good
help.
about your interview. I think you sounded great. I'm really excited to see it.
Thank you.
And I will send this off to them. As soon as you get it to me, I'll send it to the editors, and then we'll be able to go from there.
Great. When might I expect to hear from you again?
Let's see. If you send that, probably next week.
Okay.
I should be able to be back in touch with you next week.
That's wonderful.